Welcome back to another episode of EQ and You. I am Jen Shirkani, joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Steve Friedlein.
Welcome, everyone. I'm looking forward to the second style reveal.
Yeah, so the second style reveal is the analytical style.
I'm sensing we need a little more structure this time, perhaps maybe a little more serious.
Your
And
style is showing,
methodical,
Steve.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of aspects of the analytical style that, as with the driving style, that work really well for us. The discipline, I think, that's associated with the driving or the analytical style,
Mm-hmm.
the formality with which they provide data and information that can be really helpful to the people around them as well as to themselves for decision making.
Yeah, because this isn't just like, again, analytical tendencies, because I think we all share some analytical
Right,
tendencies,
right.
but it is when they communicate, they are much more detail focused. They need more data when you share information than the driving style, for example. So being able to come prepared, and that's one thing I really value in an analytical communicator. If they have the benefit of an agenda ahead of time and it's a scheduled meeting, they will almost always be the most prepared.
Right.
And my style, which we will reveal later, is the least prepared. So that is one that I value tremendously
Yes.
that's something I really value about an analytical
Yeah,
communicator.
I want to go back to something we said the very first time around, Jen, which is that these scales are on a continuum. And it's
Yes.
important to say that if your style is more analytical than the others, it doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to interact in a more direct sort of way. It simply means that your tendency based upon behaviors that work best for you are the ones you tend to go to. So as we look at the style focus now of the analytical, we're talking about accuracy. The reason you will see data and spreadsheets and information shared with you that may sometimes be more than what you need, it's because that analytical style individual is looking to make sure they're accurate.
Yes, definitely. And their tendency then is toward thinking. You know, they don't like the pop in meeting. They don't like the spontaneous, hey, can you make this decision right now? They would much rather have the opportunity to be able to think about it and sleep on it and weigh out options. And like you said, do a little research. So the more time we can give our analytical colleagues to be prepared and do that homework, the more effective and efficient our communication will be.
Right. And I think then we get into the potential challenge when we
Mm.
overuse certain aspects of what comes most naturally for us. And I think, you've got a phrase that I absolutely love. I think when the analytical style is overly having the desire to be accurate and continue to think, we often say they get into a little bit of paralysis by analysis. The fact that they're not ready to move forward, but maybe other people in the room are getting impatient, right?
Yes. And because there's always one more night you can sleep on it, right? There's always one more report you can analyze. And at some point, you have to just kind of pull the trigger and go. And this is probably one of the big differences between the driving style and the analytical style is pace of decision making. The
Right.
drivers just want to go and make that decision and deal with the consequences later. An analytical communicator will say, why wouldn't we spend a little more time up front to avoid having to do rework down the road?
Right. So both the driving style and analytical style share that reserved side of
Yes.
the grid, but the distinction there is you're going to see much more direct contact with the driving style versus that indirect, want to be a little more certain, want to be pacing myself a little more slowly. So you can see, I think, where there may be some challenges when those two style individuals work together if no one is willing to give a little bit toward behavior that might be more effective with the other.
And that's really where EQ comes in, because style is style, and research has shown that style is pretty stable. Once it's set, you don't typically change your communication style. So it's the EQ piece that kind of brings everybody together and
Right.
says, okay, if my style is this and your style is that, and we're different, we both have to sort of meet in the middle here.
Right. Any way we look at it, Jen, I think we've got work to do on an ongoing basis, because every time I think I've got my style figured out and I'm comfortable with who I am, something comes along and I'm like, okay, what's at the heart of our inability to work effectively together? And oftentimes it's style difference.
Style. I agree. All right. Well, thanks, Steve.
You
I'll
bet.
catch you next time on the next style.
I'll look forward to it.
Okay.